Hi again then guys, and so we've got another special projects tune for you today, and this time it's not a replica tune as such, it's more of a completely custom build which is inspired by real vehicles. And the build today is for, as the title has said, the Reventon R-GT. And basically what I've done is I've taken inspiration from a couple of different vehicles. We've taken obviously the Reventon as the base car, but then kind of applied the philosophy of cars like the Zonda R or the Ferrari FXX, those track day special supercars that are pretty much just toys. They're not eligible for racing, they're not road legal either, just a toy. This car is built in the image of those vehicles, but also kind of inspired by one of my more popular replicas from quite a while back in the special projects series of the Murcielago RSV race car replica. So this car takes some cues from that, some cues from the Zonda R, the FXX as I said, but overall it's a completely unique and custom from the ground up build. So as always, I'll show you first of all what I've done visually to get the look of the car, which isn't all that much that you can do to this one. Then we'll go over to the garage for the mechanical setup, and finally out to the track to see how it performs. So as we said, there's not all that much that you can do to this car visually. There are no aero kits or flat floors, which is kind of a shame, because this car would look pretty awesome with some extended chin splitters and that kind of thing. But for the rear wing, we've gone for the custom wing. We've gone for the Type A wing support, the Type B wing itself, which gives a little bump in the middle section, which looks pretty good when you look back over the car in rear view. Obviously you don't have to follow exactly what I've done, because this is by its nature a completely personalised model, so feel free to go for whatever wing you want, of course, or maybe no wing at all, it's not essential. Obviously, as you can see, we've gone for the Type C wing, winglets on the ends of the wings as well. As far as size, we've gone for the maximum width, and for height we've got the maximum, which is 0. For the rims, we've gone for the second size up, because for a racing model you don't want them too big, don't want them too small. We've gone for the BBS LMR rims, which are fairly similar to the kind of rims you'd see on like a Nürburgring N24 race car, that kind of thing. There are no additional meters on this model. And as far as the paint, which is obviously one of the more important things on this car, because it completely changes the look of the model, you could just leave it the standard kind of stealth matte greyish kind of colour, because it looks pretty good in most colours, to be honest, this car, and pretty much any colour that you fit to it goes in kind of a matte finish. But for the particular colour that I've gone for, I wanted it to be kind of crazy, kind of loud. That's what the Reventon's all about. It's a crazy car. So I went for chrome orange, which comes from the McLaren MP412C. And for the rims, we've gone for a black, which I commonly use on my rims, which is Phantom Black, which comes from the Chaparral Vision GT car, the laser-powered one. So that's it for the visual look of the car. Pretty simple setup there. So now let's go over to the garage for the mechanical setup. So the Reventon, and by extension the car that it's of course based on, the Murcielago, are notoriously tricky in terms of handling. They have a lot of their weight over the back end. The front end can be quite light, especially in both low speed corners and at top speed. So the main purpose of this tune was to counteract that and to make it an effective track car with as much grip as possible, and also to be as fun to drive, because obviously this isn't designed for any particular racing class, it's just designed to be a fun track day special. So you want your racing soft tyres, of course. For the brakes, I've changed the brake balance to 4 on the rear, 6 on the front. Ride height we've got as low as possible. The springs we've stiffened up significantly to 1125 and 1225. Dampers just the dampers on 5, anti-roll to 7, camber on 3 front and rear, neutral toe of course as always. For the gearbox, obviously it's not a top speed tune, you can see that from the power, so we've got an auto setting of 230, then we've rounded off the individual gears to 4990, 3240, 2320, 1740, 1375 and 1140, with a final drive of 2.4. For the diff, Obviously it's all-wheel drive, doesn't have a huge amount of power, so wheel spin isn't that much of an issue, but we've got low initial torque, which does also help on uphill sections, high acceleration and low braking. For the torque split, we've gone for 40-60. Now there is some room for personal preference here. If you increase it more up to a 50-50 split, the handling will become much more grippy. It does bring the front end in line and it does make it a better handling car. But it does also make it heavier around corners. So it depends what kind of driving style you want. And if you reduce it, say down to 30-70, then of course it will become much more skittish on the front end, much more slippery around corners. So I found a 40-60 split is pretty much the best. As far as power, we do have an oil change on this one, and we've got the racing exhaust primarily for the sound. Then we've reduced the power down to 88.2 to bring it down to the 575 pp category. We've got the full weight loss package and then a 37 kilo ballast, which we've put, as you can see, all the way to the front of the car to bring it closer to a 50-50 split. Rear downforce as high as possible, not particularly high, but still, you get what you can. And as you can see, the specs are reasonably believable for what you could imagine a Reventon track car being. Not significantly more powerful than the standard model, as track cars often aren't, but significantly lighter, with more downforce, more grip, sharper steering, etc. And as it happens, it does sit at 575 pp, and it's pretty quick at that level. So that's it for the mechanical setup. Now let's finally go out to the track to see how it performs. So as I said in the setup of the car, it's not really designed to be necessarily a competitive racing machine. It's designed purely to be a specialist custom vehicle that you can just use to have fun with. Great for cruising, great for just track days, great for just throwing around the track when you fancy a bit of fun. Now, although I'm saying that, I'm not necessarily saying it won't be competitive, it's just not specifically designed for that. As it happens, it may turn out to be a pretty quick 575 pp racer, because the Reventon, and by extension the Murcielago, are pretty quick cars. And if you can tame the handling, which this one does to a great degree, they certainly have the potential to be highly competitive. Overall, the handling is immensely improved over the standard Reventon, and that was the main point of this tune, to rein in the handling, make it more driver friendly, but also a much more focused, hardcore track machine. So, if you decide to use this build, I hope you find it fun and potentially competitive. And that's it for this Special Projects tune. So I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.